Thank you for watching Meatsauce Monty. I'm Matt Montgomery. He's Paul Meatsauce Lambert, the best sports show on the CW pretty much ever.
I think it's one of the greatest sports shows of all time.
I think it is too.
I mean, with Rosie quitting.
Yeah, once he's gone, then it's us.
Yeah.
Only us.
Yeah.
It's funny you should say Mark Rosen, because I have a bone to pick with him.
Okay.
And here's why. You listen to the program with the Common Man, who has filled in for you. He's been on this stage with us.
Never heard of her.
The Common Man, Dan Cole, the program. On his show, they were asking questions to Mark Rosen, because he's nearing his retirement, about who are the greatest sportscasters that he'd worked with and best shows and all this stuff. They talked for about 5 or 6 minutes, and then all of a sudden Common goes, well, of course, I thought you were going to say Meatsauce and Monty. And Rosen legitimately went, what? And then he goes, Common's like, that show, he's like, I've been on it, I've filled in for Meatsauce. And Rosen's like, oh, yeah, I've seen a couple. Yeah, it's fun, it's cute. I'm like,
no.
We've talked to him.
No.
The
only way Rosie would see it is if he spent the night at my parents' house and they happened to watch it the next Sunday morning.
The next morning.
Rosie would never watch it.
CW Twin Cities, 10 o'clock in the morning.
You're advertising, okay.
Yeah, that's us.
Yeah.
Thursday Night Lights, Mystic Lake.
Yeah, great. I love it here. I like the Christmas trees.
I do too.
Did you cut them down?
I think Todd and Scott got this.
Yeah.
At a Cut Your Own.
Yep.
I think he put it in his
Pre-lighted.
van. Yep.
Is pre-lighted a word?
Pre-lighted, we can make it a word. Our Minnesota Vikings, 6-6-1.
Yeah.
This week they're taking on 7-6 Miami Dolphins. How much do you want to talk about that horrible loss in Seattle?
I mean,
you just want to get it out of your memory?
I don't know what there is really to talk about. It was one of the worst performances we've ever seen. It was Josh Freeman-like, how bad it was.
Oh, now that's getting a little
Bad.
extreme.
Well,
Josh Freeman-like.
When did they pass the 50-yard line?
Third quarter.
It's pretty bad.
Okay, I'll stress a positive. How about this?
Okay.
Defense held Russell Wilson to 72
Yeah, you should win that game.
Russell Wilson was garbage that night.
That game on Monday night is the kind of game that can start to separate a team. Because it's like anything else.
Sure, the defense kicked butt and the offense did nothing.
It's like anything else at work. Like if you're at work and you're like, hey, we're going to have so-and-so, Bill, this guy, and this guy do this group project.
Yeah.
And Bill and Steve do all the work,
and
then
they throw you in there, and
then Monty do none of it.
Hey,
you're going to go, dude, we got paid for it. It's like this show. If I started bringing this ship down, you'd be like, dude, you don't have to do anything.
You are the captain of this ship.
I mean, they held him to 72 yards and they lose.
And the pick, which could have been a pick six if Kendricks could have stayed on his feet. Honestly, I don't know why he tried to jump and then fall. It was just, it was one of those nights where everything that could go wrong did go wrong.
It was just bad. It was a bad all-around game. And luckily for them, I mean, let's be honest, the Vikings have gotten some bad breaks.
Sure.
No pun intended. Wentz in this playoff race could be out for the season. They might bench him and not play him. And they have to go to the Rams. Green Bay is so far back, they're not going to make it. They're going to lose to Chicago today.
Yep.
All these other teams. Washington has no quarterback.
Correct.
They got smoked by a 4-win New York team.
Yes.
They're out. And Carolina can't win on the road.
Carolina's in trouble.
So they could legitimately lose out and still get in.
And still make the playoffs.
Well, I mean, they're
a 6-win season.
I mean, they're a 7-point favorite against
Miami
today. But yeah, they should win out because.
Well, you control your own destiny at this point.
Yeah, but Chicago's got nothing to play for that Sunday, and the Vikings may not either. The Vikings may be stuck at the 6th seed.
Could have it wrapped up.
Right.
So let's talk about Seattle. This is the thing that everybody's talked about all week. The flag on the blocked field goal.
Yeah.
What is your reaction to that? Because here's what got me. The night of, so many people are like, yeah, but we lost 21-7. It doesn't make a difference anyway. Yes, it does. Because if you go back to that point, that was when the game was 6-0. The possession before that, it was 4th and 1 from the 1. We went for it, incomplete pass, because they went for your guy, Kyle Rudolph, double coverage instead of Adam Thielen wide open, and which that falls on Cousins. And we didn't decide to run. We went for the pass on 4th and 1.
The whole game was just weird from an offensive standpoint. Obviously, it got a guy fired.
Yes.
It gets a guy fired. That's how bad it was.
Great segue.
The other point of it is you watch this football team with that play, and it's the most blatant rule ever broken.
Absolutely.
It's not like a ticky-tack pass interference penalty that you go, wow, this could go either way, but in the wild
leverage
in hockey, you don't really call penalties in the last 2 minutes unless it's blatant.
Right.
You're not going to call a ticky-tack pass interference penalty in a close game or a tie game. You're just not. If
these refs might. There was the one.
Right.
I mean,
that was awful.
Yes, there was a lot of bad calls.
It's the definition of the rule. You can't leverage yourself.
If you jump over this couch and you put your hands on it and you get leverage.
He literally Mrs. Doubtfired himself going to save Pierce Brosnan. That's what he did.
A run by Fruiting.
Right, and I should have tweeted that, but I didn't think
You should have. That's a great one.
Right, yeah.
You should. Save that one.
Man.
The run by Fruiting.
But it's just, and then Seattle, I hate Seattle. Seattle, New Orleans, I can't stand. I hate both those teams.
Okay, why?
Well, one, Pete
Carroll
chews gum like it's his last piece.
By the way,
like a horse.
Pause real quick. We've got CARL LEE as our guest this week.
Yeah.
He's got ties to Pete Carroll, so we can ask him questions about Pete Carroll.
Yeah, sweet.
Yeah, so that's sweet. So CARL LEE going to be our guest coming up in about 3 or 4 minutes.
Yeah.
Pete Carroll, I tweeted this. I think he's PJ Fleck Sr. He has this. Okay, I'm watching the game, and my wife is like, I like him. He's energetic. He's running the sidelines talking to his players. She's like, you don't see coaches do that in the pros. And I'm like, yeah, you don't, but you don't see a lot of coaches do that on any level because it's immature.
And
he's chomping gum like a horse.
Yeah,
he looks like Mr. Ed.
Yeah.
And he's just annoying.
And
he's clapping the whole yeah.
It's not about you. If you were good enough, you'd play.
Yeah, but he's a coach.
It's not about you. I mean, but I don't know. They just get every break. That's the other bad thing about Seattle. They get every single break.
Well, at their place, home team, I mean, Monday Night Football, I can understand some of that. And I don't want it to sound what I said before, that it's the refs cost us that game. I'm not saying that.
Well, no, you got to score.
It is a bad call, and yes, you have to score. However, when they say, well, we lost 21-7, the story completely changes if it's 1st and 10 from the 14 and you're down 6-0. You score a touchdown there, your defense had been solid.
Yeah.
You just never know. It's a totally different game. You can't say, oh, that one play.
No, but it changes the game entirely.
Absolutely.
It changes the way they do everything. It was bad.
Agreed. Do you want to talk any more about that? Do you want to talk about DiFilippo? He's gone. Stefanski, the new guy. Are you excited about it? Do you think it was a good move?
I think Stefanski should have been the guy to go to get it from the beginning.
Sure.
I think he's really close with Cousins, and the other thing too is a lot of people have been getting on Cousins.
Yeah.
You watch that game, none of the wide receivers got open.
Adam Thielen was open quite often.
But
he let
there were a lot of plays where he wasn't open, but you also, if you're Kirk Cousins, I know you have it like ingrained into you that you need to go, A, B, C, D.
Yep.
And then E, your last resort. You can go A to D. You can go B to A. You can go whatever way you want.
All right.
When he threw that backwards pass.
Yes, that was. Oh dear God.
What are you doing?
Worst play ever.
Made no sense.
That's
the play made by the really smart kid on the team, who's super athletic but has no street smart.
Yeah.
That was awful.
That was terrible.
The thing about DiFilippo's an awful coach. He shouldn't have gotten the job in the first place. He was a coordinator with a team that has one of the best young quarterbacks in Carson Wentz.
Yep.
Nick Foles, who is maybe the best backup in football, and he brings into a Super Bowl on a great team with a great offensive line that got to play a home game against a team that was totally dominated, the Vikings, last championship game.
Yeah.
He also was the offensive coordinator of Cleveland, and he was 3-13. No one good.
They don't bring that up, do they?
No one cares.
No, right.
I mean, he made a lot of money. He's not. Like I said on the radio, if he had to raise 4 or 5 kids on minimum wage, then I'd feel sorry for him.
But you don't feel bad for him?
No.
Do you think he's going to still get a head coaching job even though we canned him?
Not this year.
Not this year.
I think he'll go back to somewhere, but who knows? I don't know anything.
Well, but you can make a guess.
Yeah,
an educated
I don't think
guess.
so. I don't think he will. He looks so inept. And what did Bobby Wagner say after the game? We knew what they were doing.
Yeah,
that falls on the coach.
Absolutely. So this week we're taking on Miami. They're 7-6. They have a lot to play for. They're in the wild card race in the AFC. Baltimore's 7-6. Indianapolis 7-6. Tennessee 7-6. They had the miracle win last week. We'll talk about that more after CARL LEE. They've got something to play for. They have a better record than we do. We'll do our picks at the end of the show. But what do we have to be afraid of with the Miami Dolphins?
I don't think much. I think Kenyon Drake is okay. Tannehill has a bum ankle. We'll know. I mean, the inactives
correct.
Come out at 10:30 a.m., so we don't know as
right
of
after
now.
Our beautiful show.
Right, but I mean, I don't know. I don't think anything. I mean, they won on a miracle play, and they won because Bill Belichick, like I've been saying, can't coach. He's good at putting people in the right. You can't have Gronkowski back there. You have to know that Tannehill can't throw past that far.
Did that have to be an 80-yard pass to try to? I mean, it just.
Yeah, it was. And I use this analogy all the time. He looked like Woody when Andy comes into the room. He fell. He just collapsed.
Yeah.
I mean, Gronkowski is good at one thing. Well, two things.
Well,
one is inappropriate. And
I don't know about this.
He's a great tight end. He's not a good safety.
No, he's not.
I mean, Sean Taylor, who's no longer with us, would have been a better option than Gronkowski back there. That's how bad it was.
All right. Frank Gore, he's the 4th all-time rusher, 14,734 yards. Does he deserve more respect? Because I think he has just been so quiet.
It feels like he's been playing since I was in high school.
Well, maybe, 13 or 14 years that he's been in the league, so it's very, very close.
Right. I mean,
you graduated high school?
Barely.
What?
Barely.
Tell me the story. How did you graduate high school?
Nope, we're not telling the story. My mom's here.
Yeah, your parents are here. That's why I tried to get you in a corner. Does he deserve more respect? I honestly think his career has been very quiet. He's 4th all time. We're talking We're talking Emmitt Smith, Walter Payton, Barry Sanders, and then him. And if he sticks around for one more year, he could pass Barry Sanders.
Right. He's what, 35?
Well, the 14th year in the league. So
I think his thing is he's played for so many football teams.
Yeah.
That's his downfall. Is he's played for, tons, right?
Yeah. Well,
5, 6. He
to
played
be
for
honest,
San Francisco. He played for Miami.
Indianapolis was in there.
Was he a Cardinal for a year?
I don't see. There's just too many.
He's played for multiple teams.
It's been so many we can't even name them all.
Right.
All right. Last question for this. Zimmer. Next 3 weeks, is his job on the line? Now that he's gotten rid of DiFilippo, is he putting himself on the hot seat because he no longer has a scapegoat?
No, I think he's got one more year because
even if we miss the playoffs,
he's got one more year simply because the people who are in charge have to realize that you have a bottom tier offensive line. They didn't think Easton would lose. They signed Compton, and you're going, oh, cool, great backup. If that Compton will never play, now he's got to play. The fact that they made no move during the cuts or didn't trade like a 6th or 7th round pick,
didn't go for anything,
for a guard or something or anything.
Yeah,
Remmers isn't a good guard. Remmers looked awful on
the whole line looked bad.
Compton's terrible. Brian O'Neill's good. I like Brian O'Neill. He's got some good tenacity to him. He's a great he's a great player. He's got to put on a little muscle. But Brian O'Neill, a year from now, will be the best guy on that offensive line.
You should be a trainer. That should be a bit. You should be in the weight room with them. You just got to put on a little muscle.
Eat a lot of protein.
You got some tenacity there, kid. Anything else?
Tenacity, is that like a Rocky word?
It's a great word. I think so.
No, I got nothing else.
All right, let's take care of this before we introduce Carl Lee. Here at Mystic Lake, Pints and Pigskins, Thursdays to Sundays all season long from noon to 6. Throw your best spiral. You can score up to $25 free slot play. You can win up to $10,000 free slot play if you are the season's highest single-day scorer. Game day pick and play from 7 to 11:45 Sundays all season long. Get in here, make your picks. You can do it at Mystic Lake or Little Six. Winter winnings from 5 to 10 p.m. Fridays and Saturdays, December 7th through the 22nd. 'Tis the season to get those tech toys. 3 guests will be drawn from 5 to 9:30 p.m. Tech prizes, cash, or free slot play. Also, New Year's Eve, if you got plans, Granger Smith and Rodney Atkins coming Sunday, December 30th, 8 p.m. at the Mystic Showroom. Granger Smith, a rapidly rising country star who has garnered a massive following. That's the Yee Yee Nation. He's opening up the show.
I've met that guy.
Atkins is more invested than ever in making an honest, authentic record that tells a story. The Tennessee-born singer-songwriter is known for his chart-topping tracks, Take a Back Road, It's America, These Are My People, and Watching You. And on New Year's Eve, December 31st from 8 to 2, right here at Mystic Lake in the Grand Ballroom, the Glow Pop-Up Ultra Lounge. Leave it on the dance floor. Party into 2019. Sweet vibes, glow, a unique pop-up lounge experience. Also, New Year's Eve, Third Eye Blind with special guest Step Rockets. That's Monday, the 31st, 8 p.m., the Mystic Showroom. Third Eye Blind has a fan base, larger, younger, more dedicated than ever. You're going to want to come here on New Year's Eve. All right, we're taking care of business. Carl Lee, number 39, Minnesota Vikings. Welcome him up to the stage, please. Again, Mystic Lake welcomes Carl Lee to the stage. Carl, before we're done, we're going to have to make sure that you sign the ball. You're our first guest in a couple weeks. Everybody we've had this year signing that ball. We'll see what we do with it here at the end of the year, but if you can sign that before you go.
I can do that.
With the Vikings, 11 seasons, drafted in 1983. How different was the NFL then than it is today?
I'd make the case that obviously it was more physical. I think the way coaches coached was different. I came into a Bud Grant.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
That style of coaching and discipline and just the realization of it's either this or it's that. If you can't do it, you're not here. You know, I can remember sitting in front of Bud when he was cutting me.
Oh, man.
And he told me, he said, like, you know, here's the deal. I mean, your best football's ahead of you. You need to do this, this, and this, and that. Fortunately for me, I got called back in 4 days, and I tried to do those things. And
must have worked.
Yeah, I mean, I can appreciate that type of coaching, and now because of free agency and all these kinds of things, I think the power of the coach is a little bit less. You see players tend to have a little bit more control. You know, sometimes we wonder, like, who got him fired, or did Rodgers get his coach fired?
Oh.
We start talking about those kind of things, which was something that probably never would have happened back in the day.
Yeah.
Well, when everybody thinks about the '83 draft, they think about all those quarterbacks that win, and obviously the '83 draft isn't what the draft is today. How did you find out you were drafted?
Mind you, now I went to Marshall University and won about 8 games in 4 years. So people had talked about me, you know, the possibility of getting drafted, and you know, if there was a run on defensive backs, I could go 3, 4. If not, I could be late. So I was in Huntington, West Virginia, sitting in a little 3-room apartment, and I'd fallen asleep because it was late.
Yeah. No way.
I was like sitting there, and I'm like thinking, you know, it was a 2-day draft then.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I'm sitting there, no call. I fall asleep, and then the phone rings. I just pick it up, like, you know, it's like a buddy or something.
Yeah, what's
Hello?
up? Yep.
Can I speak to Carl Lee? And at that moment, I realized that this is not somebody that I know.
Yeah.
I was like I was there by myself, you know, and you know, it was like I didn't know if to scream, I didn't know if to cry, I didn't know if to laugh, I didn't know what to do.
Like Minnesota.
Yeah.
What?
Well, and to me, it wouldn't have made any difference. I just wanted to go somewhere.
Yeah.
But I did have to, you know, I hang up the phone and I realize I'm going to Minnesota, and I'm like thinking to myself, like, where is that? You know, like where on the map is that? Is that
like,
north, or where is that at?
What am I going to be doing? Prepare for winter.
Yeah, I was excited, and one of the craziest days and moments in my life.
Do you remember the first time you tackled Walter Payton?
I can remember. I moved to safety my second year.
Yeah.
And I was a safety my entire career, and wasn't sure if I was really going to be a corner. So they moved me back, and we were playing in Chicago, and I met him really personally. Okay.
Yeah.
I kind of broke up the middle, right up the middle, and I'm
man.
like looking at him, and I'm like thinking, this is probably not going to end well for me, you know? So he keeps running, and I'm like thinking, okay, you know, somewhere in my mind, I'm confident, I can do this, I can go and hit him. So I'm like, okay, let's just go. Here we go. So I go running. He clearly is looking at me and thinking he's got no fear.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I felt like feet like doing this. And as he was falling over me, he trips and falls. That's the only way that I tackled
So it
him.
registers as a tackle.
Yes, I get the tackle, but it was one I was hoping I never had to do again.
Oh, man. Wow.
He's my best back ever.
Really?
Best back ever. Just because he had literally everything, and he totally enjoyed the contact and the game itself.
Yeah. We've seen videos of like Randy Moss where his rookie year when they first played against the Packers, and they're getting ready, and then Randy says, I gotta watch this. It's Brett Favre. Did you feel the same way when you're warming up and you're like, that's Walter Payton? I mean, he's the greatest of all time.
I did that like literally, like I'm from West Virginia, so I could do that literally every week. There was somebody that I was like, am I playing against this guy?
Yeah.
You know, but you know, people always ask me who's the best receiver, who's the best running back and quarterback and all that kind of stuff. And I mean, it really just depends on what specific piece that you're looking at. The reason why I take Walter is because I felt like he was the one guy that had everything and wasn't the biggest guy, but he just loved the contact. He wasn't running from the contact. He wanted to initiate it. And to me, I was like, man, that's special for a running back.
Yeah. You have lots of accolades in your career. 3-time Pro Bowler, 89, 88, and 90. You are part of the Vikings, 50 greatest Vikings of all time, along with Antoine Winfield. Would you compare yourself to him, or do you think that your playing style was different?
I would probably say I don't know if different, but we could do a little bit more, than
versatile.
Yeah,
make the tackle.
We had, and I'm not taking anything away from current players or current defensive backs, but there were situations where we had to tackle. It was you're the guy who's supposed to set that corner. It's you. We could get away with a little bit more too. We could grab a little bit. I could get a piece of the jersey.
Be careful, you're gonna.
and it wasn't a call. So I'd say that there is a difference. We would play literally 3/4, if not almost 90% of the game man to man. That was when Pete Carroll and Floyd Peters was here. I mean, we played man to man all the time.
Yep.
Of course, we had a great front with Johnny Randall and Dolman and Millard and those guys. So I think it's just a different era. It's different play in different era.
Yeah. You had Pete Carroll was the defensive backs coach when you were with the Vikings. What was he like back in the – is he still the same? Like we were talking before about, chewing gum, running up and down the sidelines and how some fans like that, some don't. Was he like that with you guys, 30 years ago?
He was a kid. I mean, he was a kid with us. Like, he was like – we'd go and play basketball, and, I mean, he was like one of the guys. But for however you judge him, he changed my whole career. I mean, he knows so much about defensive back play and how to play it. When you start talking about don't worry about a touchdown, that's just going to happen.
Sure.
We're a human highlight. We're a highlight waiting to happen.
Yeah.
And, game's close,
point. Yeah.
right? If the game's close, chances are I'm going to be the guy that's going to make the highlight. The dude's going to slam the ball, and I'm going to be the guy laying on the ground. So if you can't if you're worried about that, you can't make plays.
Sure.
And that, when I first heard that was like the craziest thing I thought I'd ever heard. Make the plays. And those plays that you get beat, those just come with it.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you can't be an all-pro, can't mean that you can't be a 50 greatest. You're going to give up touchdowns, but what matters are the plays that you make.
Sure.
And at the end of the day, how do you make plays? And just his philosophy, I don't really know how to speak to him as a head coach because he wasn't that to me. I know that he was probably the most player-friendly coach I've ever had.
Wow.
And that might work at a position. It may not work as a head coach. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it worked for guys like defensive back receivers are cocky kind of guys. You got to beat me before I think you can beat me. And
sure.
And Pete fit that.
Yeah, he's like that.
Yeah,
now.
he fits that kind of thing.
Especially when he's at USC, definitely he's one of the guys.
He's not worried about losing a game. No. He thinks he can coach. He thinks his team can win, and he preaches that to you, and you get that kind of mindset.
Last one for me. What was your initial thought when you first saw John Randall? I mean, you saw him right when he got there. I mean, a lot of you were going, what, this guy? Like, he probably, the whole story about he had to weigh in and all that. Probably wasn't going to make the team, wasn't the right size. What was your first impression of him when you saw him?
I didn't even really notice him that much until the offensive lineman started getting frustrated with him because he was wearing paint in practice.
Oh, he was amped up.
Yeah, I mean, he was like all of that you saw on Sunday, that was Monday if he could do it, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So for offensive linemen, there's a day they want to just have, it's an easy day.
Yeah.
And Johnny's like out there, let's go. I mean, and he's got the paint. He's going all out, and they'd be frustrated. And that's how I kind of noticed him. I was like, what is wrong with this guy? And to this day, he's still the same exact guy. I mean, he acts exactly the same. I mean, he's hyped up like all the time.
Speaking of John Randall, the announcement, we can make it. He's going to be our guest next week, December 20th. We got John Randall, and we're extending our show an extra week, Wild Card Weekend. January 3rd, Meatsauce Monty still going to be going on here, and we've got Ben Lieber as our guest that week. Sweet. Our guest lineup secured for the season, wrapped up, make the announcement, so that's the John Randall. You are in the Marshall Hall of Fame for college.
Yes.
Have you got a chance to meet Randy Moss via both being from Marshall or both being with the Vikings, or what's your relationship?
We're actually pretty good. We just kind of reunited. I met him back when he was at Marshall. when he was at the school, I came back and we had a chance to talk. We've talked several times. I was actually going way back in the courtroom, back in West Virginia, sitting in that room supporting him. Good friend, good guy. We actually signed autographs at the Mall of America right before Thanksgiving together.
Oh, cool.
So, so we're pretty good friends.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Everybody, thank CARL LEE for joining us this week.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank you.
it.
Thank you. All right, thank you.
Special thanks to Mystic Lake bringing CARL LEE on stage for us this week. Coming up to the Mystic Showroom in 2019, Brian McKnight, Friday, January 11th.
Sweet.
He's going to be at the Mystic Showroom. Human Nature Jukebox, the Ultimate Playlist Live. That's Sunday, January 13th. Dwight Yoakam, the original country superstar, Saturday, January 19th. Tesla coming on Saturday and Friday, February 1st. Price is Right Live, Thursday through Sunday, February 7th to the 10th at the Mystic Showroom. Grand Funk Railroad, Saturday, February 23rd. Cheap Trick, Friday, March 8th. And the Monkees, Michael Naismith and Mickey Dolenz, Thursday, March 14th. And like I said before, December 20th, John Randall going to be right here, Meatsauce Monty, Thursday Night Lights, Mystic Lake, and January 3rd, Ben Lieber. We got a pretty good lineup coming up. Season's wrapping up, and we're still rolling strong.
Can't wait.
Time for, we're going to buzz through one of our favorite segments, Would You Rather? Would you rather? Mike Zimmer, his daughter, went on social media this week to defend her dad for all the critics. Would you rather side with the fans, we can criticize, or do you side with the family and say, let's back it down?
I'm on her side. I take a lot of trash on the internet.
Yes,
and
you
it's
do.
A lot of people that you just, I get he's in the public eye, 100% get that. And I tweeted the day after, I wouldn't be shocked if he got fired.
Sure.
That's not a personal shot at him.
Yeah.
And people making
Professional
fun
criticism.
of his eye and all. That's just,
Yeah.
that's just stupid. And I agree with her. She should be allowed to stand up for her dad. It's her dad.
Yep.
It's not the coach of the Vikings. It's her dad.
Family
And
first.
Correct. No one in the long end of it, no one cares about wins or losses. Family's way more important.
All right, time for our picks. This week, I'll go first. I'm going to say Vikings win by about 10.
Vikings win by 14.
14.
Yeah,
nice.
they'll beat them pretty soundly.
I like
They'll
it.
simplify the playbook. Stefanski will have, he's got 3 shots at getting the job of his dreams, if not eventually being a head coach. They'll rip Miami.
One step closer to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Don't forget social media. Check us out. Facebook, Twitter. I believe Scott runs Insta. Or Todd, I don't know, somebody. But your Twitter, my Twitter, follow it, have fun. All right, that's going to do it for this week. We'll see you back here next week.